we are going to go to the world of sports. We are going to talk about
Sports
fan
ball.
tokens. So we're talking about sports ball here, mostly European sports ball. This is where the action has been in the fan token realm. A bunch of soccer clubs that call it football in Europe, I think. They have these things called fan tokens, and they're listed on various platforms. We saw, I think it was crypto.com listed the fan token for Paris Saint-Germain, PSG, the other day. And now we're seeing FTX, the crypto exchange helmed by Sam Bankman-Fried, also listing the fan tokens from, listing a few of the fan tokens from the Chiliz fan token platform. So interesting to see this actually gaining momentum. And you know what? I'm kind of hype on it. There was a little bit of news that Chiliz was going to expand to US-based sports leagues, giving fans a way to access some of these little crypto tchotchkes. And, the fact that these are going to trade on some prominent exchanges, actually interesting. And I could see this taking off. I think previously it seemed like kind of like a walled garden. Like, why would I want like a fan token if I can't do anything with it? But if there's actual monetary value that is accruing to these things, could get really interesting. Sports ball, gotta ask Naomi. So Naomi, fan tokens, yay, nay, cool, dumb. What's your take?
Why do you do this to me, Zach?
I got to. It's in the fine print. It's in the contract.
You always give me the sports things. All right, so I'll take it in a different track to sports because obviously I clearly have nothing to add when it comes to sports. But in terms of just this, like this Tokembrian explosion, as Gabriel likes to call it, he like this idea of all of these tokens in the world right now is really exciting to see how this is going to play out. Sports tokens, Chili tokens, they'll be listed by FTX. Like, prior to crypto, we already had the beginnings of this. We already had Starbucks points. We already had frequent flyer miles. We already had all of these kind of walled gardens of you can use these things in our ecosystem. You can buy them. They're kind of like credit. You can redeem them. They can be used for other things. You can get points every time you purchase things. But those things were always managed centrally. And, they're always prone to, the companies can just create them out of thin air. And it really doesn't matter for them because they're the ones who are just, using these tokens. But now we have a system where you can have these unique assets. They can be transferred to people. They could be used potentially outside of these walled gardens. They're traded freely on, open marketplaces. It starts to get really exciting and the possibilities for all of this just explode. So, this idea that there's only ever going to be one cryptocurrency is just so far removed from the reality that we're seeing with all of these different tokens, because obviously all these companies are going to want their own different tokens, and that's fine. This isn't like we're going to have all of these freely fluctuating monies and everything's just going to be chaotic. We already had all of that prior to crypto. We already had these point systems. This is just us seeing this space mature and evolve to the next level and just seeing more functionality get added, which is really exciting to see. But David, I'll throw to you.
Yeah, so I have two comments, and one is that I think you can't bet against this because we've seen with NFTs that rationality isn't the thing that drives these markets or the use of these products. And if you're looking for a group of people who are, I don't mean this in a derogatory way, right? But sports fandom is not a rational state of mind.
Why do you hate
or process.
Sports?
I don't hate sports.
I need to
I'm
ask
genuinely
you
just trying to be, art is not rational either. It's about loyalty. It's about affiliation with a community. It's about, if you want to put a negative spin on it, it's about tribalism, which as much as it might be negative is definitely a driver of engagement for people. I think that depending on what they're able to get these things to do, it seems like a slam dunk to me. You've already seen NBA Top Shot just as a collectible be super leading edge in terms of adoption. But my question, and this does go back to the airline miles thing, but once you're trading these things on an exchange, and I'm going to ask a question that people are going to hate, but are these securities? Because the value of the fan token seems to be driven inherently by the performance of the team. And so, question mark. What I was going to say about miles, though, is that those miles for the airline have also been tradable, not as liquid or freely as these fan tokens are going to be. But there have been marketplaces where you can buy and sell airline miles. Were those ever pursued as securities? Not that I know of. So it's some very interesting questions. And in the same way that NFTs are right now exploding while there are still all of these unanswered questions, I think we're going to see these fan tokens have similar regulatory issues come up while they're also exploding in popularity. Jen, you wanted to chime in.
Yeah, Zach, did you dress for the segment today? Which
I did,
team's jersey is this?
It's my San Francisco Giants. My fandom is rational because they are the best team in baseball. So it's a rational love in this instance. But I love them through thick and thin.
I have not been.
I also hate the Dodgers. So there is some tribalism in that. But yeah, when there's an SFG coin, I'm going to be yield farming that thing.
Team. What happens when you
Dodgers going down?
Token of an opposing
LAD
team?
coin going down. Shorten it big time.
Yeah.
I do have a question, Zach. Why does it seem like fan tokens are really taking off in Europe and not yet over here in North America? I know FTX has a partnership with MLB, so I feel like maybe that's going to be the first league, if they haven't announced it already. I don't know. You correct me if I'm wrong. Who introduces fan tokens? But why Europe and not here?
I think David's point is very apt, right? I mean, I think there's going to be tougher regulatory headwinds to get this going in the US than it might be in some other markets. And I think that's why we're seeing this take off in other markets. I'd be really interested to see what this looks like in the US context and if it's even going to get the regulatory blessing to go forward. Because I mean, the last thing that a major sports team wants is sort of like sparring with Gary Gensler over how you're issuing your fan token, which to them is just sort of like an engagement tool, right? It's not necessarily like gonna break the bank, but you don't want to be slapped with a Wells notice because you put out SFG coin, as much as I would love that personally.